We're just over a week away from the fall session returning to Parliament, and today Mark Carney's government is defending its commitment to tackling climate change after overturning another green policy inherited from the previous Liberal administration. Let's go straight to CTV's Colton Praill. He's got the details for us. He's breaking it all down. Colton, hello to you. So talk to us about what we're learning today.
Yeah, Marcia, what we've seen is in an interview with CTV's Question Period, the Industry Minister, Melanie Joly, was asked repeatedly about Canada's climate targets and our climate commitments moving forward, because we haven't heard a lot from Mark Carney's government on what he's going to do when it comes to Canadian climate regulations. We've seen him change major policies. He removed the consumer carbon tax immediately upon coming into government. He has recently paused Canada's electric vehicle mandate, pausing it for next year and adding a review over the next 60 days for the program entirely. These were rather large Trudeau policies that were brought in that were, in some areas, highly unpopular. Certainly, they've been heavily criticized by the opposition, and now, given the opportunity, we're seeing Mark Carney and his government back off of those. And there's been criticism since Friday, but really throughout his tenure as Prime Minister, around the silence, or relative silence, that we've heard from his government about their climate plans, about their commitment to moving forward on Canada's climate goals. It's not been something that he has focused on. He's kept his message very heavily centered around building the economy, around building major projects, and of course around the U.S. tariff dispute. And so what we've seen since the decision Friday is environmental groups, including Greenpeace, who I spoke to today, calling out the silence, asking the federal government if these policies are still part of their future plans, and criticizing what they say are decisions that align closer with a U.S. reversal from clean and green policies and away from the shifts that we're seeing in Asia and Europe towards a more eco-friendly and certainly conscientious policy of climate change and the impacts that are being made. Now, the Mark Carney government defends this. They say they are still committed to their 2050 climate goals, but as you just heard, and in the clip you just played there of the Industry Minister, Melanie Joly, when given a number of opportunities to respond specifically to whether they're committed to their 2030 and 2035 climate goals, the government has been far less clear. They've been far less definitive. They've talked about sticking to their goals. They've talked about updating their goals. A statement from the Environment Minister's office to CTV said that the federal government, taking into account the evolving global and economic context, will provide an update on its emission reductions plan as we strive towards 2030 and 2035. We've seen them talk about using economic tools to keep a focus on the economy. Mark Carney has talked about decarbonization. He's talked about potentially building small modular nuclear reactors in Ontario, the potential for a clean carbon storage and capture system involved in the oil sands or along some of our larger fossil fuel industries throughout the country. But we haven't necessarily seen him say clearly that he is going to hit the 2030 and 2035 targets. In 2035, for our viewers, that means reducing emissions in Canada from the baseline levels by 45 to 50%. And right now, Canada is not on track to do that. We are going to miss by quite a distance, according to the government's own projections. They're saying we're only going to be 28 to 34%. So quite a gap from where Canada has pledged to be. Yeah. And with this new statement from the government that they're reviewing those policies, there has been a lot of questions as to whether they're going to move even further away from those commitments that we saw in the Trudeau era.
Colton Praill for us, reporting tonight from Ottawa. Thank you for that.